The medical room on the space station was bright with blue lights. Dr. Jake Morrison stood near the big window, looking out at the stars and colorful space clouds. Behind him, people were shouting and moving fast. Something bad was happening. "Get that thing away from here." A tall alien doctor backed away from the metal table. The alien looked like a giant bug with many arms. Its voice came through a small machine that changed its words to English. "It is too dangerous. We cannot help it." On the table was a huge animal that looked like a wolf from Earth. But this wolf was much bigger. Its fur was black as night, with silver lines running down its back. Even though the wolf was not awake, Jake could feel the power coming from it. Blood was coming out of a big cut on its side. The blood made the white table red. "That animal is a Krell war beast," said a woman named Lissa Kane. She worked as a human diplomat on the station. She walked up to Jake and looked worried. "The Krell are warriors. They fight in battles for the Galactic Council. This wolf is called a Shadow Fang. It has a special bond with a young Krell warrior named Zathros. I Harf. B-Day." Jake moved closer to look at the animal. Before he came to space, Jake was a veterinarian on Earth. He fixed sick and hurt animals. This wolf was not from Earth. But Jake knew what pain looked like. The wolf was breathing very slow. Its big body was shaking. "What happened?" Jake asked. A Krell warrior stepped forward. He was very tall, almost 8 feet. He had skin like a lizard and sharp teeth. His face showed sadness. "We were attacked by space pirates near the border zone. Shadowfang jumped in front of me. When they shot their weapons, he saved my life. First Fime. One Fime." The bug alien made clicking sounds with its mouth. "The animal is too wild. We do not know how to fix its body. It is too different from us. The right thing to do is kill it, so it does not suffer." Zathros made a deep, angry sound in his throat. The sound was so loud it made the whole room shake. "You want to kill my brother? While he still lives?" Jake walked between them. He looked at the dying wolf, and then at the Krell warrior's sad face. "I will fix it," Jake said in a quiet voice. Everyone stopped talking. All the aliens turned to look at the human doctor. The room was completely silent now. "You cannot mean that," the bug alien said. Its voice went higher. "That beast is beyond what you can do. Humans only joined the Galactic Council 3 years ago. You know nothing about this." Lissa put her hand on Jake's arm. "Dr. Morrison, this could cause big problems. The medical rules are clear. If the station doctors say no to treatment, we must accept their choice." Jake pulled his arm away gently. He walked to the table where the wolf lay. The Shadowfang's eyes opened just a little bit. Jake looked into those eyes. He saw something smart looking back at him. The wolf wanted to live. Jake could see it clearly. "I am not asking anyone for permission," Jake said. He looked at Zathros. "I cannot promise I will succeed. His wounds are very bad. I have never treated a Krell war beast before, but I will try my best." Zathros put his clawed hand over his chest. Jake had learned this meant, "Thank you," in Krell culture. That is all a warrior can ask, human. "His name is Storm. Please save my brother." The bug doctor and 2 other alien doctors left the room. They were angry. Many other aliens from different species stood by the door. They wanted to see what the human would do. Jake's nurse, a woman named Lisa Grant, came to stand next to him. "First, I need to scan his body." Jake turned on his medical scanner. It was a tool that used both human and alien technology. "Lisa, get the surgery room ready. We need to make him stable very fast." The scanner showed Jake what was inside Storm's body. The wolf had parts that were like Earth dogs, but also very different. Storm had 2 hearts instead of 1. His muscles were much stronger and denser. Some organs Jake did not recognize at all. The plasma weapon wound had burned and sealed some blood vessels, but it also caused bleeding inside the body. "His left lung has collapsed," Jake said out loud. "There is a lot of damage to the tissue around the wound. We need to operate right now." Zathros stood nearby, standing very still. He was trying hard to control his feelings. The Vrilix doctor said his biology does not work with their medicine. Jake looked up from the scanner. Maybe that is true. But pain is the same for everyone. Injury is the same. And the will to survive, I have seen that in every living thing I have ever treated. He started preparing his medical tools. Also, humans have experience doing things that others say are impossible. Lisa worked quickly, setting up equipment. She had been Jake's assistant for 2 years. She trusted him completely. "Doctor, are you sure about this?" Lisa asked quietly. "If Storm dies during surgery, the Krell might blame you. This could end your career." Jake looked at Storm again. The wolf's breathing was getting weaker. There was not much time left. "If I do nothing, Storm will die for sure," Jake said. "If I try, maybe he lives. That is an easy choice for me." Through the window, Zathros watched every move Jake made. The Krell warrior's hands were pressed flat against the glass. His eyes never looked away from his companion. Jake began moving equipment closer to the table. He checked each tool carefully. Human medical tools and alien technology did not always work well together. But Jake had spent months learning how to combine them. "We need to move him to the operating room now," Jake said. "Lisa, monitor his vital signs. If anything changes, tell me immediately." As they prepared to move Storm, the wolf's eyes opened again. This time, Storm looked directly at Jake. The wolf's gaze was clear and intelligent. Jake felt like Storm understood what was about to happen. The wolf was trusting him. "I will do everything I can," Jake promised quietly. Lisa helped guide the floating table toward the surgery room. Other medical staff, both human and alien, watched them pass. Some looked curious. Others looked doubtful. A few looked impressed by Jake's courage. As they entered the surgery room, Jake took a deep breath. He had performed thousands of surgeries on Earth. He had saved dogs, cats, horses, and many other animals. But this was different. This was an alien creature with biology he barely understood. The next few hours would test everything he knew. But Jake had made a promise, to Zathros, to Storm, to himself. He would not break that promise. He would find a way to save this magnificent creature, or he would die trying. The surgery room doors closed behind them with a soft sound. Jake pulled on his gloves and looked at the tools laid out before him. Lisa stood ready at the monitoring station. Through the observation window, dozens of faces watched and waited. Jake positioned his hands over Storm's body and began. 3. Jake stood in the bright surgery room and looked at all his tools. Each piece of equipment was laid out in perfect order on the metal tray. Some tools were from Earth. Others were alien technology he had learned to use. Lisa checked the monitoring screens one more time. "His blood pressure is dropping," Lisa said. Her voice was calm, but Jake heard the worry in it. "Both hearts are beating too slow." "We start now," Jake said. He picked up a scanning device and moved it slowly over Storm's body. The screen showed him a map of the wolf's insides in bright colors. Red showed blood vessels. Blue showed organs. Yellow showed bones. Jake studied the image carefully. Storm's body was built for war. His bones were twice as thick as a normal wolf. His muscles had extra fibers that made them incredibly strong, but the plasma wound had done terrible damage. The energy weapon had burned through skin, muscle, and into the chest cavity. "I need to open him up and see how bad it really is," Jake said. "Lisa, keep watching those heart rates. If either one stops, tell me immediately." "Understood, doctor." Jake made the first cut with a laser scalpel. The tool hummed softly as it sliced through Storm's tough skin. Even unconscious, the wolf's body was resistant. Jake had to apply more pressure than he would with an earth animal. As he cut deeper, He saw that Storm's flesh was different from anything he had seen before. There were layers of dense tissue that acted like armor under the skin. Jake had to cut through each layer carefully. "There is so much blood," Lisa said. "The suction cannot keep up." Jake's hands moved quickly. He used clamps to stop the bleeding from several blood vessels. His body has redundant systems. Everything is doubled or tripled. That is good for survival but bad for surgery. More parts means more things that can bleed. Through the observation window, Jake could see the crowd growing larger. More aliens came to watch. Some were doctors. Others were just curious. Everyone wanted to see if the human could really save the Krell war beast. Zathros stood closest to the window. His clawed hands were pressed so hard against the glass that Jake could see the marks they left. The Krell warrior had not moved in over an hour. "I am going deeper now," Jake said. He cut through another layer of muscle and saw Storm's chest cavity. The collapsed lung was obvious. It looked deflated, like a balloon with no air. But there was another problem. Green fluid was leaking from somewhere inside. Jake did not know what the fluid was, but he knew it was not supposed to be there. "Lisa, what is that green substance?" Lisa looked at her scanner. "I do not know, Doctor. It is not in any of our databases. But Storm's temperature is rising. I think it might be causing an infection or allergic reaction." Jake carefully used a suction tool to remove the green fluid. As he did, he noticed that the fluid was coming from a small organ near Storm's second heart. The plasma blast must have ruptured it. "I need to seal that organ," Jake said. "But I do not know what it does. If I seal it wrong, I might kill him." "What are you going to do?" Lisa asked. Jake thought fast. He looked at the organ's position and the blood vessels connected to it. "It is near the heart and connected to the major arteries. My guess is it helps filter or regulate something in the blood. I am going to seal it partially, leaving some function but stopping the leak." "That is very risky, Doctor." "Everything about this surgery is risky," Jake said. He selected a different tool, one that could seal tissue with focused energy. His hands were steady as he worked on the small organ. Sweat dripped down his face, but he did not wipe it away. After 10 careful minutes, the green fluid stopped leaking. Jake let out a breath he did not know he was holding. "Good," he said. "Now for the lung." The collapsed lung was the main problem. Without it working, Storm would die even if Jake fixed everything else. Jake had reinflated collapsed lungs before, but never on an alien. He did not know if the same technique would work. He inserted a small tube into the lung tissue. Then he attached it to a machine that would slowly pump air back in. "Start the inflation at 5% pressure," Jake told Lisa. Lisa turned a dial on the machine. There was a soft hissing sound as air began flowing into Storm's lung. Jake watched carefully. The lung began to expand, but something was wrong. It was not expanding evenly. Part of it filled with air, but another part stayed flat. "Stop," Jake said quickly. "There is a blockage or tear somewhere." He looked closer and found the problem. A piece of burned tissue was blocking one of the air passages. The plasma blast had melted it shut. Jake would have to remove the dead tissue and clear the passage. This was the most dangerous part. If he cut too much, the lung would not work. If he cut too little, the blockage would remain. Jake's hands moved with extreme care, cutting away only the burned parts. "Pressure is dropping again," Lisa warned. "We are losing him." "Not yet, we are not," Jake said through gritted teeth. He finished clearing the blockage and quickly sealed the cuts he had made. "Restart the inflation. 10% pressure this time." The machine hissed again. This time, the lung expanded correctly. Both sides filled with air. Jake saw Storm's chest rise slightly as the lung began working again. "It is working," Lisa said with relief in her voice. "Blood oxygen levels are rising." Jake allowed himself a small smile. But there was still much work to do. He spent the next 2 hours repairing damaged blood vessels, removing dead tissue, and reinforcing weakened areas. Every few minutes, Lisa would report changes in Storm's vital signs. Some were good, some were bad. Jake adjusted his work based on each report. The crowd outside grew even larger. Jake tried not to think about all those eyes watching him. He focused only on Storm, on saving this one life. At one point, an alien voice came through the speaker system. It was the bug doctor who had refused to treat Storm. "Human, the war beast's body is fighting against your repairs. His immune system is attacking the areas you have sealed." Jake paused and looked at his scanner. The alien was right. Storm's body was treating Jake's repairs like foreign objects. Inflammation was spreading around each sealed wound. "His body thinks I am the enemy," Jake said quietly. Then louder. "Lisa, do we have any immune suppressants that work on Krell biology?" "I will check the database," Lisa said. Her fingers moved quickly over the computer screen. "Yes, there is one. But doctor, it is not tested on Shadow Fangs, only on Krell warriors." "It will have to do," Jake said. "Prepare an injection. Half dose to start." Lisa prepared the medicine and handed Jake the injector. He carefully inserted it near Storm's primary heart and pushed the plunger. The blue liquid disappeared into Storm's bloodstream. They waited. 30 seconds passed. Then, a minute. Jake watched the scanner closely. "Inflammation is decreasing," Lisa reported. "His body is accepting the repairs now." 2. Jake nodded and continued working. He closed the chest cavity layer by layer, making sure each seal was perfect. This part took another hour. By the time he was done, Jake's back hurt from standing so long, and his hands were cramping. Finally, he made the last stitch on the outer skin. Storm's wound was closed. The surgery was complete. Jake stepped back from the table and pulled off his gloves. He was exhausted. Every muscle in his body ached. But Storm was still alive. The monitors showed 2 hearts beating steadily. Both lungs were working. Blood pressure was stable. "We did it," Lisa said softly. Jake looked through the window at Zathros. The Krell warrior's eyes met his. Jake gave a small nod. Zathros placed both hands over his chest and bowed his head in deep gratitude. The crowd outside began making sounds. Some were cheers. Others were clicking, or humming, or other alien expressions of approval. The human had done what everyone said was impossible, but Jake knew the surgery was only the first step. The real test would be whether Storm woke up and whether his body would heal properly. The next few days would tell them if Jake had truly saved the war beast or just delayed the inevitable. "Move him to Recovery Room 3, Jake said to Lisa. "I want constant monitoring. If anything changes, wake me up immediately." "You should get some rest, doctor," Lisa said. Jake shook his head. "I will rest when I know he is stable. For now, I stay close." As they moved Storm to the recovery room, Jake walked beside the floating table. He looked down at the massive wolf and hoped he had done enough. The recovery room was quiet except for the soft beeping of medical machines. Jake sat in a chair next to Storm's bed. He had been there for 6 hours now, watching every breath the war beast took. Lisa had gone to get food and rest, but Jake could not leave. Storm lay very still on the special bed made for large creatures. His chest moved up and down slowly. The monitors showed that both hearts were beating at the right speed. His blood pressure was normal. But Storm had not woken up yet. Zathros sat on the other side of the bed. The Krell warrior had not spoken much since the surgery ended. He just watched his companion and waited. "How long before he wakes up?" Zathros finally asked. Jake looked at the monitoring screen. "I do not know. His body went through a lot of trauma. Sometimes after major surgery, the body needs extra time to heal. It could be hours or days. What if he does not wake up at all? Then we deal with that if it happens," Jake said. He did not want to think about that possibility. But his vital signs are strong. His body is responding well to the repairs. I think he will wake up. Zathros nodded slowly. You did something today that no other doctor would do. You saw Storm not as a dangerous animal, but as a life worth saving. My people will remember this." Before Jake could respond, Storm's body twitched. It was small, just a slight movement of one paw. But both Jake and Zathros saw it immediately. Jake stood up and checked the monitors more carefully. His brain activity is increasing. I think he might be starting to wake up. Storm's eyes moved under his closed eyelids. His breathing changed, becoming a bit faster. Then his tail moved. Just a little bit. "Storm," Zathros said softly in his own language. The word came out as a deep rumble. The war beast's eyes opened slowly. At first they looked cloudy and unfocused. Then they cleared, and Storm looked directly at Zathros. The wolf made a small sound, somewhere between a whine and a growl. Zathros placed his hand gently on Storm's head. "You are alive, brother. The human doctor saved you." Storm's eyes moved to look at Jake. The wolf studied him for a long moment. Then, very slowly, Storm's tail moved again. Jake recognized it as a friendly gesture. "Hello, Storm," Jake said quietly. "You gave us quite a scare. But you are going to be okay now." Over the next hour, Storm became more alert. He tried to stand up several times but was too weak. Jake had to explain to Zathros that Storm needed to rest for several more days before trying to walk. "His body needs time to finish healing," Jake said. "The surgery fixed the major damage, but there is still internal healing that must happen naturally. If he moves too much too soon, he could tear the repairs I made. I will make sure he rests," Zathros promised. Lisa returned with food for Jake. She smiled when she saw Storm was awake. "This is wonderful news, Doctor. The whole station is talking about your success." "I just did my job," Jake said, but he felt proud. Saving Storm had been one of the hardest things he had ever done. "Ambassador Lissa wants to see you when you have time," Lisa added. She said something about the Galactic Council wanting a full report. Jake sighed. He had been so focused on Storm that he had not thought about the political side of things. "Tell her I will come by in a few hours. Right now, Storm needs monitoring." The next 3 days passed slowly. Jake barely left the recovery room. He watched as Storm grew stronger each day. The war beast could lift his head by the second day. By the third day, he could sit up for short periods. But something unexpected was happening. Storm seemed more interested in Jake than in anyone else, even Zathros. Whenever Jake entered the room, Storm's ears would perk up and his tail would wag. When Jake left, Storm would watch the door sadly until he returned. "He has bonded with you," Zathros observed on the 4th day. "This is unusual. Shadowfangs typically bond only with Krell warriors, and usually only one." "I do not understand," Jake said. "I thought he was your companion." "He is," Zathros confirmed, "but Storm is choosing to form a secondary bond with you. It is rare, but not impossible. You saved his life. In his mind, you are now part of his pack." Jake did not know what to say. He had never expected this. He reached out and touched Storm's head gently. The war beast leaned into his hand, making a deep, rumbling sound that Jake realized was purring. On the 5th day after surgery, Storm stood up on his own for the first time. His legs were shaky and he could only stand for a minute before needing to lie down again. But it was progress. Jake ran more scans. Everything looked good. The lung was fully functional. The damaged organs were healing correctly. The sealed tissue showed no signs of infection or rejection. "You are doing great," Jake told Storm. "Another week, and you will be running again." That afternoon, Jake finally went to meet with Ambassador Lissa. Her office was on the upper level of the station, with a large window showing the stars outside. "Dr. Morrison." Lissa greeted him warmly. "Please sit down. I have been hearing amazing things about your work." Jake sat in the chair across from her desk. "I just did what needed to be done." "You did much more than that," Lissa said. She pulled up a screen showing dozens of messages. These are requests from medical facilities across the galaxy. They all want to know your techniques. Some want you to teach classes. Others want you to come to their planets as a consultant. Jake looked at the messages in surprise. I did not realize it would cause such interest. You proved that human medical knowledge can be valuable in a galactic context, Lissa explained. Many species have been skeptical of human abilities. You just showed them they were wrong to doubt us. What about the Krell? Jake asked. Are they happy with the outcome? Lisa smiled. Happy is an understatement. The Krell High Command sent an official message of gratitude. They are calling you a friend of their people. That is an extremely high honor. Jake felt embarrassed by all the attention. I was just helping an injured animal. To you, maybe, Lissa said. But to the galaxy, you did something remarkable. You saw past the fear and the differences, and just saw a life that needed saving. That is what makes humanity special, Jake. We do not give up easily. Later that evening, Jake returned to the recovery room. Storm was awake and alert. When Jake entered, the war beast immediately perked up. I brought you something, Jake said. He held out a piece of protein that Lisa had prepared. It was synthetic meat, designed for Krell biology. Storm sniffed it carefully, then took it gently from Jake's hand. No more tonight, Jake said with a laugh. Your stomach is still recovering. Too much food too fast will make you sick. Storm huffed in disappointment, but did not argue. He lowered his head and rested it on Jake's lap as the doctor sat down. Zathros entered the room and saw this. He made an approving sound. The bond grows stronger. Storm trusts you completely now. I am honored, Jake said honestly. He stroked Storm's head gently. He is an amazing creature. He is more than that, Zathros said. Shadowfangs have intelligence equal to many sentient species. They simply cannot speak our languages, but they understand everything. Storm knows you saved him when others would not. He will never forget that. Jake looked into Storm's eyes and saw the intelligence Zathros spoke of. It was humbling to realize this powerful beast had chosen to trust him so completely. What happens now? Jake asked. I will return to my duties with the Krell military, Zathros said, but Storm has formed a bond with you. That bond is permanent. Even when we are apart, Storm will remember you. If you ever need us, you need only call, and we will come. That night, Jake stayed in the recovery room again. He had brought a sleeping mat and placed it next to Storm's bed. As he lay down to sleep, Storm's large head appeared over the edge of the bed, looking down at him. What is it? Jake asked. Storm made a soft whining sound. He wanted Jake closer. Jake stood up and carefully climbed onto the large bed next to Storm. The war beast immediately curled his body around Jake protectively. This is probably against medical protocols, Jake said with a smile. But he felt safe surrounded by Storm's warm fur and steady breathing. As he drifted off to sleep, Jake thought about how strange life had become. A year ago, he was treating sick cats and dogs on Earth. Now he was sleeping next to an alien war beast on a space station light years from home. But somehow, it felt right. 10 days after the surgery, Storm took his first real steps. Jake and Lisa watched carefully as the war beast walked slowly across the recovery room. His movements were stiff at first, but after a few minutes, Storm's natural grace began to return. Look at him go, Lisa said with a smile. A week and a half ago, we did not know if he would live. Now he is walking. Jake checked his medical scanner one more time. All readings were normal. His body has healed faster than I expected. That enhanced biology is remarkable. Storm walked over to Jake and sat down in front of him. The wolf's head was level with Jake's chest even while sitting. Storm looked at him with those intelligent eyes and made a happy rumbling sound. I think he wants to go outside, Zathros said from the doorway. The Krell warrior had spent every day visiting Storm. He has been inside this room for too long. He needs to run and feel space under his feet. The station has a recreation area with artificial gravity, Lisa suggested. It is used for exercise. Would that work? Jake thought about it. Storm was healed enough for light activity. A short walk in a safe area might be good for him. Let us try it. But Storm wears a monitoring collar just in case. They fitted Storm with a small device around his neck that would track his vital signs. Then, they made their way through the station corridors toward the recreation area. People stopped to stare as they passed. Some had never seen a Shadowfang before. Others had heard about Storm's story and wanted to see the war beast that had survived. Storm walked calmly between Jake and Zathros, his head high and proud. He did not seem bothered by all the attention. If anything, Storm seemed to enjoy being out of the small recovery room. When they reached the recreation area, Jake saw it was a large open space with artificial grass and trees. The ceiling showed a projection of a sky with clouds. It almost felt like being on a planet. "Okay, Storm," Jake said, unclipping the leash they had used just in case. "Take it slow." "No running yet." Storm looked at Jake, then at the open space ahead. The war beast took a few steps forward, testing his strength, then a few more. His tail began to wag as he realized he could move freely again. Zathros made an approving sound. He is remembering what it feels like to be strong. Storm walked around the area, sniffing at the artificial trees and grass. Other people who were using the recreation space gave him plenty of room. A few looked scared, but most seemed fascinated. After about 15 minutes, Storm came back to where Jake was standing. The war beast lay down and rested his head on his paws. He was tired, but happy. "Good boy," Jake said, kneeling down to check Storm's breathing. It was slightly elevated, but not dangerously so. "You did very well for your first real walk." Quote, over the next week, they took Storm to the recreation area every day. Each time, he could walk a little longer and move a little faster. Jake gradually increased the activity level, letting Storm do more as his body healed. On the 18th day, after surgery, Storm ran for the first time. It was just a short sprint across the recreation area, but Jake's heart swelled with pride watching the war beast move with such power and grace again. "He is completely healed," Zathros said, standing next to Jake. "You have done what everyone said was impossible. You have my eternal gratitude." Doe. "I am just glad he is okay," Jake said. But inside, he felt proud of what he had accomplished. Storm was living proof that human medicine could work even on alien species. That evening, Ambassador Lisa came to visit Jake in his quarters. She brought another stack of messages and requests. "The Galactic Medical Council wants you to present your findings at their annual conference," Lisa said. "It is a huge honor. Only the most respected doctors in the galaxy are invited to speak." Jake looked through the messages. There were requests from hospitals on a dozen different worlds. Some wanted him to consult on difficult cases. Others wanted him to help train their doctors in cross-species medicine. "I do not know if I am ready for all this," Jake admitted. "I am just one doctor. I cannot be everywhere at once." "You do not have to accept every request," Lisa said kindly. "But Jake, you have started something important. You have shown that humans have valuable knowledge to share with the galaxy. That is bigger than just one surgery." Jake nodded slowly. "I will think about it. But right now, my main concern is making sure Storm completes his recovery." "Of course," Lisa agreed. "The conference is not for another 3 months. You have time to decide." The next few days were peaceful. Storm continued to grow stronger. Jake spent his mornings treating other patients on the station and his afternoons with Storm. The war beast followed Jake everywhere now, like a giant shadow. "He really has bonded with you," Lisa observed one day. "I have never seen anything like it." Jake had to admit it was true. Storm seemed happiest when Jake was nearby. At night, the war beast would sleep outside Jake's quarters, guarding the door. Jake had tried to make him go to the kennel area, But Storm had refused. "I guess I have a permanent roommate now," Jake joked. On the 23rd day after surgery, something unexpected happened. Jake was in the medical bay treating a minor injury when alarms started blaring throughout the station. Emergency lights began flashing. Lisa ran to the communication panel. "What is happening?" A voice came through the speakers. "All personnel to emergency stations. We are under attack." "Repeat. We are under attack." Jake's heart began racing. He had trained for emergencies, but had never experienced a real attack on the station. "Who is attacking us?" "Unknown ships," the voice continued. "They appeared on sensors 5 minutes ago and opened fire without warning. Security teams are responding." Jake quickly secured his medical supplies. In an emergency, there would likely be injured people who needed treatment. He had to be ready. Storm suddenly appeared in the doorway of the medical bay. The war beast must have sensed the danger and come looking for Jake. Storm's body was tense, his ears flat against his head. He was in full combat mode. "Easy, Storm," Jake said, though his own heart was pounding. "We need to stay calm. We need to stay calm." Zathros's voice came through Jake's personal communicator. "Dr. Morrison, where are you?" "R. Metter. D.O. 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 In Medical Bay 3, Jake responded. "What is happening?" "Pirates. They are after the supply shipments that arrived yesterday. I am with the security team trying to hold them off. But we need Storm." Jake looked at the war beast. Storm was clearly ready to fight. His entire body vibrated with controlled energy. "Zathros. Storm just recovered from major surgery. I cannot let him go into combat." "Zathros. Zathros." "I know," Zathros said, and Jake could hear weapon fire in the background. "But we are badly outnumbered. Storm is a trained war beast. He might be our only chance." Jake felt torn. As a doctor, his job was to protect Storm's health. But people were in danger. Lives were at risk. He looked into Storm's eyes and saw the intelligence there. The war beast knew what was happening. Storm wanted to help. "Storm," Jake said seriously, "if you go out there, you could tear your repairs. You could die." Storm made a deep sound in his chest. Then he turned and ran toward the door. "Storm, wait," Jake called out, but the war beast was already gone, racing down the corridor toward the sounds of fighting. Jake grabbed his medical kit and ran after him. Lisa tried to stop him, but Jake would not listen. If Storm was going into danger, Jake was going too. The corridors were full of smoke and flashing lights. Jake could hear the sounds of weapons firing and people shouting. He followed Storm's path, running as fast as he could. When he reached the docking bay where the fighting was happening, Jake saw chaos. Pirates in dark armor were exchanging fire with station security. Zathros and a group of Krell warriors were holding a defensive position, but they were being pushed back. Then Storm entered the fight. The war beast moved like lightning, faster than Jake would have believed possible. Storm attacked the pirates from the side, his powerful jaws closing on weapons and armor. The pirates had not expected to face a Shadow Fang. The battle turned quickly. With Storm's help, the security team began to push the pirates back toward their ships. Jake stayed behind cover, ready to treat any wounded. After 15 intense minutes, the pirates retreated. Their ships pulled away from the station and jumped to faster-than-light speed, disappearing into space. Jake immediately ran to Storm. The war beast was breathing hard but seemed okay. Jake ran his scanner over Storm's body, checking for any damage to the surgical repairs. "You crazy animal," Jake said, relief flooding through him. "You could have hurt yourself." Storm licked Jake's face, clearly pleased with himself. All around them, security personnel were cheering. The pirates had been driven off, and no one was seriously hurt. Zathros approached, placing his hand on Storm's head. "You saved many lives today, brother. Both of you did." "Anten." "Zathros." "Anten." On 10. Jake looked at Storm and shook his head with a mixture of frustration and pride. You are supposed to be recovering, not fighting pirates. But Storm just wagged his tail, completely unrepentant. And despite his worry, Jake could not help but smile. The war beast had just proven he was not only healed, but as strong as ever. After the pirate attack, Storm became famous throughout the station. Everyone wanted to see the war beast that had helped drive off the attackers, but more importantly, everyone wanted to meet the human doctor who had saved him. Jake found himself being stopped in corridors by aliens from dozens of different species. They all wanted to thank him or ask him questions about his medical techniques. Some brought him gifts. Others simply wanted to shake his hand. "You are a celebrity now," Lisa said with amusement as they walked through the station. "How does it feel?" "Uncomfortable," Jake admitted. "I did not do this for fame. I just wanted to help Storm." But the attention kept coming. 3 days after the attack, the Galactic Medical Council sent an official delegation to meet with Jake. They arrived on a small diplomatic ship and requested a formal meeting. Jake wore his best uniform and met them in the station's conference room. There were 5 council members, each from a different alien species. They looked very serious. "Dr. Morrison," said the lead council member, a tall being with blue skin and 4 arms. "We have reviewed your surgical notes on the Krell war beast. Your methods were unconventional, but effective." "Thank you," Jake said carefully. He was not sure if this was a compliment or a criticism. "We would like to offer you a position," the blue alien continued. "The council needs doctors who can think beyond traditional methods. We want you to head a new program teaching cross-species emergency medicine." Jake was stunned. "I am honored, but I am still learning myself. I have only been in space for 2 years. Sometimes fresh perspective is more valuable than years of experience," another council member said. This one looked like a floating jellyfish with glowing patterns. "You saw a problem that others said could not be solved. You found a solution. That is exactly the kind of thinking we need." Jake thought about it carefully. It was an incredible opportunity, but it would mean leaving the station, traveling to the council's central academy, being away from his regular work. "Can I have some time to think about it?" Jake asked. "Of course," the blue alien said. "We understand this is a big decision. Take 1 month. Then let us know your answer." After the council members left, Jake went to find Storm. The war beast was in the recreation area, playing with some station children who had begged their parents to let them meet him. Storm was gentle with the children, letting them pet his fur and climb on his back. "You are good with kids," Jake said, sitting down on the artificial grass. Storm walked over and lay down next to Jake, resting his huge head on Jake's lap. The children followed and sat around them in a circle. "Mr. Jake," a small human girl asked, "is Storm really the strongest beast in the galaxy?" Jake smiled. "I do not know about the strongest, but he is definitely very brave." "Can he understand us?" a boy from an alien species asked. "Yes," Jake said. "Shadowfangs are very intelligent. Storm understands everything we say. He just cannot talk back with words." As if to prove the point, Storm lifted his head and gently nudged the boy with his nose, making the child giggle. That evening, Zathros came to Jake's quarters with news. "I have received new orders," the Krell warrior said. "My unit is being deployed to the border regions. There have been more pirate attacks. We leave in 5 days." Jake felt a sudden sadness. He had grown close to both Zathros and Storm over the past month. "Will you take Storm with you?" "And that is why I came to talk to you," Zathros said. He looked at Storm, who was lying by Jake's feet. "Storm has formed a strong bond with you, stronger than I have ever seen a Shadowfang bond with a non-Krell. I believe Storm should stay here with you." "What?" Jake said in surprise. "But he is your companion, your bond brother, and he always will be," Zathros said. But Storm has chosen you as well. A Shadowfang can have two bonds, though it is rare. I have my duties as a warrior. You have your duties as a healer. Storm can help you here on the station. He can protect you while I am away. Jake looked at Storm. The war beast looked back at him with those intelligent eyes. What do you think, Storm? Do you want to stay with me? Storm stood up and walked to Jake. He placed his massive head against Jake's chest and made a deep, contented sound. The message was clear. Storm wanted to stay. Then it is settled, Zathros said. I will inform my commanders that Storm is remaining here as your companion and protector. Over the next few days, Jake spent as much time as possible with both Zathros and Storm. The Krell warrior taught Jake more about Shadowfang behavior and needs. He explained how to read Storm's body language and what different sounds meant. Storm will need exercise every day, Zathros said. At least 2 hours of running and physical activity. He is a war beast. His body is built for action. I understand, Jake said. I will make sure he stays healthy and strong. Also, Shadowfangs are very protective. Storm will see you as his pack now. Anyone who threatens you will face his wrath. You must teach him to control that instinct around others. Jake nodded. He had already seen how protective Storm could be. The war beast watched everyone who came near Jake with suspicious eyes. On the day Zathros was set to leave, the entire station gathered at the docking bay to see the Krell warriors off. It was a formal ceremony with speeches and military honors. When it was time to say goodbye, Zathros knelt down to face Storm. He placed his forehead against the war beast's forehead and spoke in the Krell language. Jake did not understand the words, but he could see the emotion in both warrior and beast. Storm made a sad whining sound. He did not want Zathros to leave. Be strong, brother, Zathros said in English, so Jake could understand. Protect the human doctor. He saved your life. Now, you must guard his. Storm huffed and sat up straight, accepting his duty. Then Zathros turned to Jake. Thank you for everything you have done. You have my friendship, and the friendship of all Krell warriors. If you ever need help, send word, and we will come. Travel safely, Jake said, and come back when you can. Storm will miss you. I will miss him too, Zathros admitted. Then he boarded his ship with the other warriors. Jake and Storm watched as the ships departed, disappearing into the stars. Storm sat close to Jake, his body pressed against the doctor's leg. It is just you and me now, Jake said quietly. Storm looked up at him and wagged his tail once. That was enough. The next few weeks were an adjustment period. Jake had to learn how to live with a massive war beast in his small quarters. Storm took up most of the floor space when he lay down. He ate enough food for 3 people. And he snored so loud that Jake had trouble sleeping at first. But Jake would not trade it for anything. Storm was loyal, intelligent, and surprisingly affectionate for such a fierce creature. Every morning, Storm would wake Jake up by gently nudging him with his nose. Every evening, they would go to the recreation area for exercise. Storm would run and play while Jake watched, always amazed by the war beast's speed and power. Jake's work changed too. With Storm by his side, he felt braver about taking on difficult cases. When a ship arrived with a critically injured alien from a species Jake had never treated before, he did not hesitate. He studied, improvised, and saved the patient's life. Using the same approach he had used with Storm, word spread further. More and more patients came to the station specifically requesting Dr. Jake Morrison. They knew he would try when others might give up. One day, Lisa came to Jake with interesting news. Doctor, there is a medical emergency on a mining colony 3 systems away. They have a creature that is injured, but none of their doctors know how to treat it. They are asking specifically for you. What kind of creature? Jake asked. They did not say exactly. Just that it is important to the miners, and they cannot bear to lose it. Jake looked at Storm. "What do you think? Ready for a road trip?" Storm barked once, loudly, which Jake had learned meant yes. "Then we go," Jake said. "Prep the shuttle, Lisa. Storm and I will leave in an hour." As they prepared for departure, Jake thought about how much his life had changed in just a few months. He had come to this station as just another doctor, hoping to do good work in space. Now he was heading out on a rescue mission with an alien warbeast as his partner. He had made a promise when he first saw Storm dying on that table. "I will fix it," he had said. Simple words, but they had changed everything. Those words had saved Storm's life. They had earned Jake the friendship of the Krell. They had opened doors to opportunities Jake had never imagined. But more than anything, those words had shown the galaxy something important about humans. When others said something was impossible, humans would try anyway. When others walked away from difficult problems, humans would stay and fight. When a life needed saving, humans would say, "I will fix it," and mean it. As Jake and Storm boarded the shuttle, Jake felt ready for whatever challenge waited at the mining colony. He had his medical skills, his determination, and now he had Storm. Together, they could face anything. The shuttle lifted off from the station and accelerated into space. Through the window, Jake could see 1,000,000 stars stretching out before them. Each one might have a planet. Each planet might have creatures who needed help. Storm sat next to Jake's pilot chair, looking out at the stars with his own sense of wonder. The warbeast's tail wagged slowly, contentedly. "You know what, Storm?" Jake said. "I think this is just the beginning. There are a lot of lives out there that need saving. And we are going to save as many as we can." Storm barked in agreement. The shuttle jumped to faster than light speed, carrying Doctor and Warbeast toward their next adventure. Behind them, the station grew smaller until it disappeared completely. But Jake knew they would be back. The station was home now, and when they returned, they would bring with them new knowledge, new techniques, and new stories of lives saved. Because that was what Jake did. That was what he would always do. When someone needed help, when a life hung in the balance, when others said it could not be done, Jake would step forward with confidence and determination. He would say those simple words that had become his promise to the galaxy. "I will fix it."